Yeah, that's my brother. You should all know that, pretty sure. That was both our first time going to the Bahamas. Everybody's gone for like 3 years. This was the 3rd year, and this was our first year, so pictures. I was with the 4 to 5-year-olds, so that's our whole group. We had like 20 kids off and on, so like 18 most of the time. And we had 3 leaders, so myself, Samantha, and Lydia. And it was very, very hectic, because these kids, like, half of them don't really speak English, and so they don't understand what's happening, and like, yeah, next picture. I felt like God told me to pray over the chairs every morning, so I tried to do that. This is like the first day, I think, and I was just meeting the kids, and a lot of them were so shy, and they were just sitting there like, and so I went up in front of them and just like started playing patty cake with each individual kid, and then they started getting more into it, and started opening up more, and it took a lot of patty cake to do this though, so just dancing with the kids during worship, pretty much, daily activity. Walking with the kids, they all really want to be like the one to hold your hand, so often you'd get like a clump per hand, and they would just be like around each hand and hanging off the back of you, and then trying to climb on top of the front, and you're like, can't really walk, but yeah. Like that. That's the everyday. It was really fun. One of the rare moments, they all sat down quietly, and we were trying to read a story to them from the Bible. It only lasted a few minutes, though. I don't remember what. I'm not sure. Playing outside. Some game. I'm not sure which one. Being with the kids. This is my favorite picture, I think, because this is Keisha, and I'm going to talk about her more when I start really talking, but just remember her eyes. And those are the twins, Ebony and Ebonika. They sound like twins. This is Gina. They were all so sweet, and they would come up and give you things, or like just try to like give you their love. So I thought this picture perfectly represented it, because there's another picture I didn't put it in, but she hands the flower, and then I took a picture right after I took it, and she's just like, and it's really, really cute. We went to the beach, and Melinda and I climbed a tree, and we were like, oh, we climbed a tree over the water at the beach. How weird is this? And that's me holding Keisha at the village, the Haitian village, because we walked him home, as Bobby said. And more of the village. It was really, really, this makes it look wider than it actually was. It felt so, like, you could barely walk through the houses, and it felt like a maze when you go in there. It was crazy. Yeah. And also these pictures, they don't really show it, but there's trash just all over the ground. All over the ground. Okay, so, yes, so I was with the 4 to 5-year-olds, and if I refer to 4 to 5s, I'm talking about 4 to 5-year-olds, just so you know, not 4 to 5th graders. So, it was a very different experience, I think, than most people had for the VBS, because 4 to 5s, like, you don't really do activities with them, because they don't really understand them, or they don't really, like, they can't really do the things. So, and we had different crafts most of the time. And it just felt like really the only thing you could do with them is physically love them. Like that was really all you could offer them, because you couldn't have like an intellectual conversation about God. You couldn't, like, it was really mainly the way that you could love them was just like hugging them or holding them or something like that. And it was really cool because that's one of my main love languages, is like physical touch and how I give love. And so it felt so fitting from God that I was with the 4 to 5s, because there's kind of issues with the older kids sometimes, like that you might not necessarily want to give love in that way because they have so much sexual abuse or, you know, stuff like that, so it's like more iffy. But the 4 to 5s, they said, we're young enough that that's like, you can do that. It's encouraged to do that. So it was just so perfect. So, like, you know, go to worship and hold all of their hands and dance around during the worship song. and then the movie time would come, and I was too tall to sit in the chairs, which is like the first time in my life being too tall for anything. So it's kind of like weird. So I would sit on the floor, and as soon, like I knew that if I sat on the floor, that, you know, and so every day I had to like, okay, gotta do it, you know, because it was my favorite moment, but also my least favorite moment, because there was nothing to lean against or anything. So I'd sit on the floor, and then they'd all just come and like lay down, and I'd have to like hold myself up or something, and it would really hurt my back sometimes. But it was just so worth it. Like every day I was like, no, I'm definitely doing that, because it was just such a moment that I couldn't, like, you can't create that otherwise without like kids just wanting to be with you and wanting to love you, you know, and you can love them, and it like, and the verse was always in my head that Jesus took the kids in his arms, you know, and he loved kids too. It was so cool to think of that, and to think that I can be a part of like what Jesus did too, you know. And there was one time where it was kind of discussed that maybe they shouldn't be held so much, because it was like getting a little chaotic, and so I was like, okay, I'll try to like respect that, you know, and I try to, but so the next day I was taking one of the kids to the bathroom during a movie, because that was like their favorite pastime, and so I took, and her name was Keisha. She's the one that was like, it was really up close on her eyes, and I was taking her to the bathroom, and she's like, carry me, and I'm like, no, not right now, Keisha, like later, you know, and she's like, no, carry me, and I was like, not now, Keisha, and she like got in front of me, and she was just like, carry me, pick me up, and like, in that moment, it was just like, I've never seen such desperation to be held, and it just, I was like, oh my gosh, there's no way I'm saying no to her, you know, because if that's a way that I can give her love, why wouldn't I? No matter how chaotic it gets, like, of course I'm going to give her that, you know, and so I just like swept her up in my arms, and it was so wonderful, and one of the things that Gillian, who is the director of the VBS, one of the things she told me later is that in the Haitian village, as soon as the kids get to like walking age, that's pretty much it for being held. They don't have to hold them anymore, and they're on their own. And so it made me realize that for these kids, being held, it's not just, I'm lazy, I don't want to walk, or might as well be held, like, it's kind of fun. It's like, no, I need to be held. I need you to love me, because it's just like they don't have it, you know? So that was like so important to be able to hold them. And yeah, the kids, like, in the Haitian village, Keisha showed me her house, and I think she has like, I don't remember how many siblings, but one of my kids said they had like 5 or 6 brothers and sisters. And then she showed me her house, and all the houses have just like cloth hanging down over the doors, and it's like made of plywood, and you open it, and there's like a tiny room, and my girl was like, that's where I sleep, and she was really excited to show me, but it was just like on the floor, you know, and they didn't even have beds, and one of them had a bed, but it's like the whole family sleeps on the bed, and it was just so like crazy, because when you're in the rest of the Bahamas, you see like really pretty nice houses, and you know, they look pretty much like, you can tell a little difference maybe, but it's not, it's pretty much the same, and it's like nice here, you know, and over, like, you just take this tiny little dirt path off of the main road, and then go through this like broken down fence, and then suddenly you're in a whole nother world. Like, you wouldn't even believe you're in the same place. It feels like you had to take a plane to get to another country to get to where you were, because it's so different, and there's trash everywhere, and people just sitting around like looking at you, and this van drove up in the one open area that there was, because everywhere was just like a maze, like literally we almost got lost, and this van drove up, and we're like, and it had like music playing that was a little bit off tune, and we're like, what is that? That song looks like an ice cream truck. And then it was an ice cream truck, like a regular van, and it had like some stickers of ice cream on the back of it. That's so funny. But it was just to see where they live and where they come from and what they have to deal with every day. It was just such a different, like, it was so touching to be able to see that. It's sad it was the last day, because then it's like, oh, now I'm not going to get to see you in that context necessarily once you come back to the VBS, but I'm so glad we got to see it at all. And also the kids, if you see, can you go back to one of the VBS pictures of like the kids? You'll see they're wearing like, yeah, like these clothes. I wasn't ever sure if, because Gillian told us that they wear their nicest clothes or sometimes they borrow clothes. And I was never sure if, like when was their nice clothes or when was like normal clothes or like, I never knew what was what. And when we went to the village, I guess one of my kids had already gone back a little bit earlier before we walked, and I saw him and he had already changed into his regular clothes, which was like a battered, like the white, you know, tank top shirts and like torn shorts, and it was just, I was like, oh wow, you know, he really was wearing his nicest clothes, something that would be completely regular here, like what I'm wearing or any of us are wearing, you know, that's their nicest clothes. And so it was just so weird to see him in such a different context and looking so different. Yeah. I took a nap every single day. Every single day. As soon as BBS was over, it was just like to the chairs to nap because it was really exhausting and so emotionally draining, and so like just I felt like everything was poured out of me for this trip. But one thing that I would say is that it was so worth it because something about me is that, for example, if I'm cleaning a house that's like kind of dirty but mostly clean, it's like torture because you have to put all your effort in to clean it, but it's barely a difference. But if I'm cleaning a house that's really dirty or really like you can just tell when it's cleaned, like, you know, you see a huge difference. It's like, yes, I'm glad I did all that effort, you know. And I felt like that was what it was like for me on this trip because this wasn't working with people that are mainly Christian but need some help, or, you know, they're a little bit poor, or like they just, you know, they don't have enough people. It's like, no, they needed people. They needed Jesus. Some of them thought you'd go to hell if you cussed, like for sure, or like if you did this, and like they really just need help and need Jesus, and it was something that we could actually provide for them, and you could see a difference. So, yeah, it was a very, very good trip.